Indonesia, a land of lush jungles, mysterious ancient ruins, and exotic species. It is a paradise where the echoes of ancient legends and the whispers of untold adventures await. The Dutch East India Company established trading posts in Java and Sumatra in the early 1600s. The Dutch government ruled over Indonesia starting in 1816, following the Napoleonic Wars and the defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo. The colony thrived on the lucrative spice trade, abundant crops, and rich reserves of coal and oil. These resources were highly prized and drove the region's economy. Yet, Dutch rule was frequently perceived as violent and repressive, sparking countless revolts and fervent calls for independence. Following the Japanese surrender in World War II, Indonesia gained partial independence. In 1949, a treaty signed with the Dutch government granted full independence. Indonesia's archaeological treasures. Indonesia first captured the international scientific spotlight in the 1890s when Dutchman Eugene Dubois unearthed the first Homo erectus fossils on the island of Java. For decades after independence, Indonesian archaeologists had been perusing old maps and records from Dubois and other Dutch colonial explorers. They stumbled upon intriguing notes from a Catholic priest and amateur archaeologist, Theodore Verhoeven. Verhoeven's observations pointed them to the Liangbua cave on the island of Flores, with a treasure trove of fossils waiting to be uncovered. Verhoeven was a close friend and colleague of Gustav von Koningswald, von K for short. He would later gain fame for his discovery of Gigantopithecus and Homo erectus bones in China. Please see our other videos on this channel on von K and Gigantopithecus. The team. In 2003, the discovery of the diminutive Homo floresiensis fossils in Liangbua Cave sent shockwaves through the world of paleoanthropology. The discovery opened up a new chapter in human evolution. The team was led by Australians and supported by Indonesian archaeologists, mostly affiliated with Wollongong University in New South Wales, near Sydney. The team included on-site leader Thomas Sutikna, Peter Brown, and Professor Kira Westaway. Notably, leaders at the dig site, including Australian paleoanthropologist Mike Morwood and Stony Brook University professor William Jungers, had significant backgrounds in alt zoology. Their colleague Colin Groves of the Australian National University, regarded as the grandfather of cryptozoology, served in an advisory role. Of note, Groves played a key role in reclassifying certain hominid fossils, including the famous specimen K&M ER 3733, discovered by Richard Leakey. Groves actually conceived the name Homo ergaster. CryptoNews.com 2017. Colin Groves was a classic cryptozoologist who was open-minded, a critical thinker, and interested in new species to the end of his life. Groves was a true giant in cryptozoology. The discovery. The prior year, 2002, an on-site team led by Waihu Subtomo made the first fossil finds. Subtomo is affiliated with the University of Wollongong in Australia. New team members were enlisted, meticulously mapping out different cave levels and devising an ambitious excavation schedule. One of the workers on Subtomo's team, a local man named Benjamin Tarus, struck the top of a cranium with his metal shovel, revealing the first glimpse of the Homo floresiensis skull. Sutikna, stricken with a severe jungle fever, was staying at a local hotel. He was awoken by Subtomo's urgent news: definitely hominid. Sutikna rushed to the site, later recalling, quote unquote, "my fever vanished." Morwood had just left for the season back to Australia. He rushed back to the site. He concurred with Sutikna. It was a new species of hominid. Unveiling a new human species. According to Sutikna, Discovering the Hobbits, 2014 Science.org, it was Colin Groves, grandfather of cryptozoology, who independently confirmed Homo floresiensis as a new species. Thanks to Groves' esteemed reputation and extensive international connections in paleoanthropology, the recognition of Homo floresiensis as a new species swiftly gained acceptance in academic circles. Chris Stringer of the London Natural History Museum was one of the first to congratulate the team. Stringer, Smithsonian, quote, "It meant that a whole branch of a human evolutionary tree in Asia had been missing. I wondered how Homo floresiensis could have survived for so long after the arrival of Homo sapiens in the region at least 50,000 years ago," end quote. NBC News 2004, quote, "It is arguably the most significant discovery concerning our own genus in my lifetime," end quote, said anthropologist Bernard Wood of George Washington University. Homo floresiensis was first announced in Jakarta in 2004. The event marked a significant moment in paleoanthropology, drawing global attention to this remarkable find. The media frenzy took the researchers by surprise. Some scientists on the project even lamented being relentlessly pursued by reporters eager for interviews. Morwood and Brown coined the nickname Hobbit. They even toyed with Homo habitus at one point. This whimsical reference undoubtedly contributed to the media frenzy. Notes aside, the team narrowly averted a potential PR disaster. The Indonesians initially wanted to name it Homo floresiensis from Greek and Latin. The Australians changed it to floresiensis with an E. In 2004, the groundbreaking paper titled "The New Small-Bodied Hominid from Flores, Indonesia" was published in the journal Nature, officially introducing Homo floresiensis to the scientific community and the world. Paper. Here we report the discovery from the late Pleistocene of Flores, Indonesia, of an adult hominid with stature and endocranial volume 380 cm, equal to the smallest known Australopithecines. Continuing, the primitive features assigns this hominid to a new species, Homo floresiensis. Smithsonian. Homo floresiensis, nicknamed the Hobbit, have so far only been found on the island of Flores, Indonesia. The fossils of Homo floresiensis date to between about 100,000 and 60,000 years ago. Continuing, LB1 is a female skeleton. These individuals stood approximately 3 feet 6 inches tall, had tiny brains, large teeth for their small size, shrugged forward shoulders, no chins, receding foreheads, and relatively large feet. Note, Flores Island is also home to the Komodo dragon from CNBC, the world's largest lizard and undisputed superstar of Flores tourism. Confiscation of the fossils. Quote, you might expect that Indonesian researchers would have been as excited as anyone by the discovery on their doorsteps. You would be wrong. End quote. Paige Madison, PhD, University of Copenhagen, New Scientist, 2023. Teuku Jacob was an Indonesian paleontologist based in Jakarta. Jacob obtained his PhD in anthropology from Utrecht University in Holland. Jacob, a fervent nationalist during the Japanese occupation, played a crucial role in smuggling the precious Gigantopithecus teeth out of the concentration camp where von Koningswald was imprisoned. Praybook.com. As a student of Gustav von Koningswald in the 1950s, Jacob claimed to have discovered and studied numerous specimens of Homo erectus. At the time of the Homo floresiensis discovery, Jacob was regarded as Indonesia's foremost paleontologist. He contended that Homo floresiensis was not a new species and vehemently opposed the Homo erectus hypothesis. From National Geographic, Teuku Jacobs, the specimens are, quote, not a separate species but a human pygmy, perhaps with a birth defect called microcephaly that causes small brains, end quote. In a dramatic turn of events, Jacob barged into the offices of the archaeologists at the Liambua site, seizing the Homo floresiensis specimens. For nearly a year, he kept the fossils hidden away in his office, shrouded in mystery and controversy. Professor Bert Roberts, University of Wollongong, Tale of Hobbits, Nature 2014, quote, we invited Teuku Jacob to come over and have a look at the bones, and then Jacob just put them in a suitcase and walked out the door with them. Mike Morwood was absolutely ballistic, end quote. New Scientist. After Homo floresiensis was announced to the world, a leading Indonesian archaeologist condemned the international reporting of the discovery as quote-unquote unethical. Continuing, a few days later, he surprised his colleagues by helping another Indonesian researcher, Teuku Jacob, take possession of the bones. Paige Madison interned doing fieldwork in Indonesia. She is widely regarded as an expert on Homo floresiensis. Dr. Madison studied under Donald Johanson at ASU. Her academic advisor was William Kimball. Note, Madison avoids naming the quote-unquote leading Indonesian archaeologist who assisted Teuku Jacob in confiscating the Homo floresiensis fossils. Desecrating the fossils, the damage to the hobbits. When Jacob finally returned the specimens, the archaeologists were aghast to find many of the fossils damaged. Shock and disbelief reverberated through the team as they inspected the once pristine remains. According to Madison in the New Scientist, quote, some of the bones were damaged beyond repair, end quote. Praybook.com. The pelvis was smashed, destroying details that reveal body shape, gait, and evolutionary history. According to Peter Brown, Nature, quote, the lower jaw was broken, the skull was damaged, end quote. Brown, Science.org. The lower left jawbone, quote, broke in half during the molding process and was badly glued back together, misaligned, and with significant loss of bone, end quote. Chris Stringer, 2004, Science.org, quote, The development seems to have threatened all future studies of Homo floresiensis. One wonders how Professor Jacob is able to take over discoveries made, studied, and published by other workers. End quote. Science.org, Breaking the Hobbit, March 2005. Jacob insisted that the bones were intact when they left his lab, and that any damage must have occurred when they were no longer under his care. Scientific American, Hobbit Hubbub, 2006. The Indonesian government has closed the cave to further excavation for the time being, following a bitter dispute between the discoverers and rival scientists, including Jacob. Dr. Jacob maintained that the bones were intact when they left his lab, asserting his innocence until the end. He passed away in 2007, taking his secrets to the grave. Anti-Western resentment, a hidden motive? Post-war Indonesia was a hotbed of anti-Western and anti-colonialist fervor. Nationalist fires burned brightly in Jakarta, driving a fierce determination to reclaim Indonesian sovereignty from foreign hands. The Bersiap was a violent uprising against the Dutch. According to premiumhistoria.org, thousands of pro-Dutch fell victim to the slaughter. In 1946, in one particularly horrible incident, an estimated 6,000 Dutch were slaughtered by the Indonesian nationalists upon returning to Jakarta, having been released from Japanese prison camps. Indoproject.org. Those targeted by the violence consisted of native-born Indo-Europeans, Indo-Chinese, and Christian indigenous people. As Britannica describes it, Indonesia was a guided democracy, wavering between communist and fundamentalist-backed military dictatorships. Jacob was a member of the ruling National Socialist PDIP. He even served 5 years in the National People's Assembly. There had long been concerns about rare fossils, antiquities, and archaeological relics being removed from the country and taken to Australia and other Western nations for research. Jacob seizing the precious Homo floresiensis fossils may have been one more incident in the former Dutch East Indies that highlighted underlying tensions between Indonesian nationalists and international researchers. Be sure to watch our other videos on this channel on Homo floresiensis, including the latest finds from Mata Menge. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.